Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine while gazing at the stars? That feeling of awe mixed with a deep, primal fear? That's the heart of science fiction horror, a genre that takes our greatest hopes for the future and twists them into our worst nightmares. It's not just about aliens and spaceships. It's about the terrifying idea that our own progress, our own ambition, could be our undoing. Think about it. We push the boundaries of science, reaching for the heavens. But what if something from the void reaches back? This genre taps into a very specific kind of anxiety. It's the fear of the unknown, magnified by the infinite expanse of space or the unfathomable depths of technology. Unlike traditional horror, where the monster might be a ghost or a creature of myth, in sci-fi horror, the monster is often a product of our own creation. A rogue AI, a genetic experiment gone wrong, or an alien life form that defies every law of biology we understand. The very things that represent progress, artificial intelligence, space exploration, genetic engineering become the instruments of our terror. Let's travel back to the origins. You could argue that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was the first true sci-fi horror story. A scientist, driven by ego and ambition, creates life only to be horrified by his creation. It's a timeless warning. Be careful what you create, for you may not be able to control it. This theme echoes through the decades, from the classic B-movies of the 50s, where radioactive monsters symbolized our nuclear anxieties, to the sleek, corporate-driven horrors of today. These stories aren't just meant to scare us. They're cautionary tales about the hubris of humanity. They ask us, just because we can, does it mean we should? One of the most iconic examples that truly defined the modern genre is, of course, Ridley Scott's 1979 masterpiece, Alien. On the surface, it's a monster movie set in space. But it's so much more than that. The setting, the Nostromo, isn't a gleaming starship of the future. It's a greasy, industrial, working-class tugboat. The crew aren't noble explorers. They're truckers in space, just trying to get paid. This grimy, realistic truckers in space aesthetic made the horror feel incredibly real. The true terror of Alien isn't just the xenomorph itself, with its acid blood and horrifying life cycle. It's the cold, indifferent universe and the even colder, calculating corporation, Weyland-Yutani, that sees its own crew as expendable in the pursuit of a new biological weapon. The famous tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream," isn't just a clever marketing line. It's the thesis of the entire genre. Utter, complete isolation. When things go wrong out there, you are truly, terrifyingly alone. Then we have John Carpenter's The Thing, which takes that isolation and adds another layer of psychological dread, paranoia. A group of researchers at an Antarctic outpost discovers an alien that can perfectly imitate any living organism. Suddenly, the monster isn't just outside. It could be standing right next to you. It could be you. The trust that holds society together completely disintegrates. The real horror becomes the suspicion, the inability to know who is human and who is the monster. It preys on our fundamental fear of not being able to trust our own senses, our own friends. The monster is a physical threat, but the psychological warfare it wages on the characters and the audience is what makes the film a timeless classic of unrelenting tension. Science fiction horror also explores the horror within ourselves. David Cronenberg is the master of this, with his focus on body horror. In films like The Fly, he shows us how science can corrupt us from the inside out. A brilliant scientist's teleportation experiment goes wrong, and he slowly, gruesomely transforms into a human-fly hybrid. The horror isn't just the final creature, it's the process. It's watching a man lose his humanity. Piece by piece, his body betraying him in the most grotesque ways imaginable. This subgenre makes us question our own physical forms. What is it that makes us human? Our minds? Our bodies? And what happens when our technology forcibly changes one without the other. It's a visceral, deeply unsettling exploration of identity and decay. The genre also loves to play with our perception of reality itself. Films like Event Horizon blend sci-fi with supernatural and cosmic horror. A rescue crew investigates a starship that vanished years earlier, only to find it has literally been to hell and brought something back. The ship itself becomes a haunted house, its technology a gateway to a dimension of pure chaos and pain. It suggests that there are forces in the universe so far beyond our comprehension that to even glimpse them is to invite madness. It's a Lovecraftian idea brought into the space age. Humanity is insignificant, and our scientific understanding is a fragile shield against a cosmos filled with unimaginable terrors. We think we are exploring space, but what if, by doing so, we are just knocking on doors we should have left unopened? And let's not forget the psychological thrillers that mess with our minds. Cube, for example, throws a group of strangers into a giant, mysterious cubic structure filled with deadly traps. They don't know how they got there, or why. The horror comes from the sheer senselessness of their situation. There's no alien to fight, no clear villain to defeat. There is only the structure, a monument to inscrutable, deadly logic. It is a metaphor for a bureaucratic or technological system, so vast and complex that the individual is rendered meaningless. The existential dread of being a cog in a machine you don't understand, in its own way, is terrifying as any monster. More recently, the genre has continued to evolve. Annihilation presents us with its shimmer, an area where alien influence doesn't just kill, it refracts and changes everything, including DNA. It's not about conquest. It's about transformation, a terrifying and beautiful process of self-destruction and creation. The horror is subtle, atmospheric, and deeply philosophical. It asks what happens when the very code of life is rewritten by an outside force. Is the new form still us? Or is it something else entirely? It's a beautiful, terrifying film that shows the genre is still finding new ways to get under our skin. Even video games have pushed the genre to new heights of immersion. The Dead Space series puts you directly in the boots of Isaac Clarke, an engineer on a mining ship overrun by mutated creatures called necromorphs. The game masterfully uses sound design and the claustrophobic environment to create a constant state of anxiety. Every creak of the ship, every hiss from a vent, could be a prelude to an attack. You're not a soldier, you're an engineer. Your weapons are repurposed mining tools. This feeling of vulnerability is key. It's you, with your plasma cutter, against an army of horrors in the cold, dead silence of space. So, why are we so drawn to these dark visions of the future? Perhaps it's because they allow us to confront our modern anxieties in a safe space. We worry about AI taking over, about corporations having too much power, about what genetic modification might unleash. Sci-fi horror takes these abstract fears and gives them a face-off and a terrifying, fanged face. It's a form of catharsis. By watching Ripley fight the Xenomorph or Macready face the Thing, we vicariously fight our own fears about a future we can't control. Ultimately, science fiction horror is a mirror. It reflects our deepest anxieties about technology, our place in the universe, and our own human nature. It warns us that the path to progress is fraught with peril, and that the greatest monsters might not come from other worlds, but from our own laboratories and our own ambitions. It's a genre that reminds us that for every brilliant scientific breakthrough, there's a potential shadow, a dark possibility lurking just beyond the edge of our understanding. And it's that thrilling, terrifying possibility that keeps us coming back for more, staring into the darkness and wondering what might be staring back. Thanks for watching. If you love exploring the dark side of science in the future, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content. Let me know your favorite sci-fi horror film in the comments below. Stay curious and maybe keep a light on